Today is Tuesday, April 18th, 2023. My name's Jeanette Pincus, and I get the honor of interviewing David Veeder, who I've known my whole life, and he has been the president of Federation, and we wanted him to share with us what it was like during his tenure there. So David, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeanette.
Thank you. To begin with, I want just if you could share with us what got you to become president of Federation.
Well, my Jewish education really got me involved. I was in the first class of Akiba Academy, and as I progressed through my high school years and college years, I began working world, and my boss said, I need you to get involved in something in the community focus. So I came to the Federation, and they said, we have a leadership development group, and Sandra, my wife, and I got involved, I don't want to say how many years ago, many years ago. And that was the outset of when we started.
Okay, thank you. And when did you serve?
I served from July 1st, I believe, of 2009 till June 30th of 2011.
Okay. And your title was?
I think the titles were chairman.
Okay.
And then the head of the Federation was the CEO. But I believe that was the title we were given.
Okay. During the time you were there, who were the various leaders that you worked with?
Well, most of the time, I would say it was predominantly the past chair, so people like Carol Aaron and Steve Waldman and Larry Schoenbrunn and Stan Rabin. Before I was the chair, everybody else seemed to be like the old core. I was one of the new young pups. So I got a lot of the skill sets that I had to be the chair from those people. They helped and guided me through the 2 years that I was the chair.
At the time that you were president, what was the relationship the Federation had with the synagogues and the temples?
It was a cordial, but I don't think it was intense. I think that the relationships that the synagogues and the schools have with the Federation is obviously much more in depth now than it was back then. I know that when I was chairman, one of the big things that was on my agenda that I got passed is we wound up allocating more dollars to the Jewish day schools because I thought it was important to me, Jewish education.
And how large was your board during that time?
Oh God, our board back then was well over 100. It was during my term that we changed the governance and reduced the number of board members from over 100 to roughly 30. Because what happened was back then everybody came to the board meetings, but they really didn't feel like they had any input. It felt like everything was rubber stamped because there was an executive committee who made a lot of the decisions, and then they brought those decisions to the board to approve them. But that's what happened is that everyone was concerned that the board members were not engaged, that they were just kind of the good housekeeping seal of approval to what the executive committee had previously decided before we ever had a board meeting.
So that was something that was very effective then.
Oh yeah, and I think to this day they still have that existing governance where they've reduced the board members. I think they've reduced it even further now. They're probably somewhere in the mid-20s as opposed to, I think we were in the 30s.
I just want to get back. You mentioned that one of the initiatives you had was to really help promote the preschools, younger childhood
Jewish
education.
education. We wound up
what else did you?
Well, the biggest thing is that at that time, and I think still today, they allocate dollars to the day schools by number of students. So so if there was 100 students and they gave $1,000 a kid, there was $100,000. During my regime, I think we wound up increasing the allocation to each of the day schools significantly during the 2-year period.
Okay, that's terrific. How did you feel at the time you were chair? The Jewish community interacted with the Dallas Secular or the other religious communities?
I was very, very fortunate in that when during my 2-year term was the 100-year anniversary of the Federation. So we had obviously that whole year were community events both within the Jewish or within the Jewish community and outside the Jewish community. And one of the things I'm very proud of is that when I was chair, we raised over $1.5 million in the year of and we got a lot of that money from the general community who helped us celebrate that 100-year anniversary. There were a lot of banks and insurance companies, regular companies, who supported the Jewish community by saying thank you during that 100-year celebration.
That's terrific. Were there any coalitions with other organizations or government outside the Jewish community?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, we interacted with them, but in terms of affiliations, I don't remember any to speak of.
Okay, during this time, that your 2 years, was there any significant local, national, or international events that had affected the time you were in there, that you were have to deal with?
Well, there were a couple things. One was one of the major intrusions into Gaza happened in 2008. And so there was a lot of publicity, both positive and negative, in the community about, Israel's intrusion into Gaza at that time. I forgot the name. It was like Operation Steel, or I don't remember exactly the name. But that went on in, I believe, 2009. That's the only thing nationally that I remember. Locally, in 2008, right before I became chair, is when they opened up the Legacy in the north, in Plano, which there were a lot of issues going on with the structure of Legacy. And then, as I said, my second year was the 100-year anniversary of the Federation. So we had events throughout the year, and so we interacted with all of the beneficiary organizations throughout the year.
How was your relationship? Now, you mentioned that there was an incident in Gaza. How was the relationship with Dallas and Israel? How supportive do you feel the community was for Israel?
Well, I always believe that this federation has supported Israel, obviously in two ways. One, financially, and about a third of the campaign each year goes to Israel and all the different agencies within Israel. But also we had the partnership between Israel and we had a sister community in Israel. And so we obviously interacted with them sporadically, but it was a close-knit. Harold Gernsbacher, I remember, was very, very involved in that. And really, Sandra and I had the opportunity to go to Israel, and we went to our sister city, and the relationship and how we were treated during that visit was phenomenal.
What changes did you feel the Jewish community experienced during your time, or was there any changes that were happening?
Oh, we had a significant change. The second year of my term, we had a change of CEOs. That's when Gary Weinstein changed positions, and we brought in a new CEO. So my second year was a transition year, moving, Gary leaving, and the new Susan Kramer coming in. So there was a lot of give and take as we had one leaving and one coming. But the good part about it was, again, with the 100-year anniversary, everybody was very upbeat. Federation was really had a great year. We raised a lot of money, and it was very visible to the community.
Did you feel Dallas, as a Jewish community, was divisive in any way? Was there anything going on, or you felt that?
I don't think, I never felt it. I'm sure, the general nature of any community is there's always splinters within the community, but there was nothing visible that you could point to or you could see that says there was a lot of divisiveness within the community. I think Federation and the JCC, those two organizations, were two organizations that were very well accepted within the community.
David, you had mentioned some people when I asked you about leaders. Is there anybody you felt like was a mentor to you, or someone that you really looked up to, you felt that maybe guided you or taught you some things?
Yeah, I mean, I go back to when I was chairman, and a couple of people I leaned on. Steve Waldman was one, Carol Aaron was one, Harold Kleinman. There were a couple of issues that I had to deal with that I couldn't thank him enough for the advice, the guidance, and the mentorship he gave me. To this day, and I was chairman 12 years ago, there are specific instances where I still reference Harold Kleinman and the guidance he gave me.
In relation to the time that you were chair with Federation, or even did before that, even just working with Federation, is there anything that you felt really stands out that you were most proud of, or something that really was significant for you?
Well, I think, timing is everything, but obviously the 100-year anniversary and being able to lead the Federation during that 1 year was, it was a responsibility, but there was a lot of joy in it. I think that the Federation and the Jewish Day School relationship was enhanced during those 2 years. I think the Federation, the change in the governance, made the decision process and people's involvement on the board much more meaningful, and people appreciated it. So, I think there are probably other things. I'm sure there are other distractions during that 2-year period, but those 3 things I think were what I would consider the highlights.
Is there any story that comes to mind or special experience that you haven't had a chance to say yet that you want to share?
Not really. Obviously, anytime you fill a position like this, whether it's with the Federation or the JCC or synagogue, you have to have support, and my family was very supportive.
So since it's been 12 years
Yep.
since you've done this, what have you been doing with yourself since then? Because I know you didn't stop being active and helping out and doing things.
I got very involved in AIPAC. I care very much about Israel. But I've laid pretty low. I've just tried. That's one of the pieces of advice that Harold Kleinman gave me, which to this day I still live by, is that I was blessed having the opportunity to lead the Federation, but when you're done, after you leave your footprint, it's time to step back and let other people lead. So I've intentionally, for a number of years after I was the chair, tried not to be involved. Not from the perspective that I didn't care, I wasn't supportive. I just didn't want the people who served under me feel like I was, overlooking or looking over their shoulders as to how they did. Everybody leads organizations, shows their leadership skills in different ways, and it's very easy for people that once you've attained this role to want to hold on for everything you can. And that was one thing that somebody advised me not to do, because it tends to inhibit the people behind you and not let them grow.
That's very good advice. So you mentioned that you've gotten active in AIPAC. Is that like on a local level, a national level?
Yeah, I was the chair of AIPAC a number of years ago, and I sit on the leadership committee nationally. Obviously, I'm involved, not day to day, but I'm very involved here in Dallas, and as well as very involved in politics as it relates to Israel. So I enjoy that. And I try to spend more time now with my family and my grandkids and, things like that. So
I imagine the message that what you want to be given to your children and grandchildren is the involvement of being in the Jewish community. So what would you want to share with them, or what do you say to them?
I tell them it's important to know where they came from. I was fortunate to go to a Jewish day school, and they will too.
That's wonderful. Okay, well, David, I appreciate you sharing so much of this with us, and I am honored that I got to be the one to interview you, and I appreciate the leadership that you've done for the community.
Well, the community has done a lot for me. They gave me the opportunities to do it, and I'm happy I did.
Thank you.